To me, I think the First Amendment is the most important sentence in our legal framework. The government shall pass no law respecting the establishment of religion or abridging the free exercise thereof, or of the press, or of speech, or the right of people peaceably to assemble, petition their government to protect redresses. I am absolutely convinced that it is the central limitation of our government and thus protects the freedom of our people.
To me, the First Amendment means, that each person in America has the right to serve whatever type of religion that they want. Any God, whatever it means, you have that right. You have that religious freedom to do that.
I define the First Amendment to completely basic terms like freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and freedom to believe whatever you want, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you can tell other people what to believe too and tell them that they should think how you do. You have the right to believe what you do, but that doesn't mean that you tell other people they need to believe the same thing. So while you have that right to believe what you want, it doesn't mean that other people should believe that and you can just tell them how to feel as well.
Well, as a broadcast journalist, the First Amendment's pretty important. Freedom of the press. I believe it was Benjamin Franklin who said that the free press was the watchdog of democracy. And when the press is doing its job, that's what they're supposed to be doing, is keeping an eye on those parties which might try and work around, through, and beyond the Constitution.
The First Amendment is my code of rights, essentially, so everything that it says I can do, I can do. I mean, I don't know. I think of the First Amendment as the thing that prevents my individuality, in a sense. It allows me to express my opinions freely without being overthrown by a government that is too powerful. It keeps the government in check and keeps my personal freedom secure.
I believe that it does, but to an extent, and only on certain religions, like mostly Christianity. It has all the organizations that Christians put together, and that's basically the only kind of religious activities you see are ones for the Christian faith. And so I think that it protects those with prayer at the pole. They allow that at school or before school, but you don't necessarily have time for like praying if you're a Muslim or a Hindu. So I think that it protects Christian rights, but not necessarily all religions.
Yes. No, it's a hard question. The short answer is yes. The long answer, as with anything, is it gets more complicated than that. What protects religious freedom is the First Amendment, right? The public school system, of course, is the government school system. And so to the degree that it reflects that need by the government, that goal of the government, then yes, it does. But it certainly isn't the only means of protecting religious freedom. And I'm not even certain it's the most important means of protecting religious freedom. But I suppose it's a player in the process.
I honestly don't, because teachers are humans just like everyone else, and they all have their own opinions, and unfortunately there's no real way to regulate to make sure that everybody is fairly treated, no matter what kind of opinions they have. Me as an atheist, I do find that when I have overly Christian, not what I want to say overly, but when I have very religious teachers who have opinions that conflict with mine, if my opinions are ever shared, which I try to keep my opinions at least with a figurehead above me, and even in school, I try to make it so that they don't know how I feel, I guess, because I don't want them to treat me differently, because unfortunately people do treat people differently when they think differently than them.
I believe that the public school system protects religious freedom. Yes, they go out of their way in some cases. Do I feel like sometimes my particular religion or someone else's is protected more? Sure, but that's probably an opinion. But it's a very fine line to walk. And I think for the most part, from what I can see and what I experience, that the public school system does that job and does it fairly well.
Certainly as a culture, we have religions that we preference, right? We are very much a Judeo-Christian culture. And in our current context around 9/11 and the issues with the Middle East and that perennial problem, we are Judeo-Christian, but we're not even the full Semitic, because we have, as a society, some sort of some real deep hesitancies around Islam. And there are valid religions protected under law that are rife with concern. Right? Satanism is protected under the law. However, we don't actively encourage it. At least I hope we don't. I don't think we do. So the framework, of course, is designed to protect all religions, but that leads to the question of what is a religion, right? In terms of practicality, we certainly are emphasizing Judaism and Christianity as a society.
Now, people who practice certain religions may not think it's fair, but I think from my experience, I think all religions are protected and in some ways treated pretty fairly. In my opinion, they were looking at the future. I think they were looking at the whole picture. And I think sometimes as humans, we look at just right now instead of looking at the big picture. So I wouldn't change it.
The people are supposed to be watching the government. They are the government. The press is supposed to be the watchdog of democracy. We're supposed to be able to practice our religious freedoms. And so I don't know that I would change it. It's pretty well written.
I don't think I have one. I really do think that it is a critical and essential piece. Without the First Amendment, I don't think I would be happy in this country. It is really that simple for me. So it's incredibly important.